I first would like to start off by thanking everyone for showing up and taking the time to listen to all candidates. I gotta adjust the mic here, I'm a little bit tall. I'd like to personally thank my aunties Iris Acus and Vicky Scrimbit for nominating me for council. And a special thanks to Anna Lee and Elise Daniels for helping me get my certificate of financial compliance. I'll give you a brief introduction to who I am. My name is David Cardinal. I graduated from the First Nations University in 2018. I have a bachelor's of administration with a major in entrepreneurship, and my academic journey has given me the skills and business insights into the business sector. I have written business plans in the past and have created financial projections and financial forecasting for the plans I've written. I've learned the methods of conducting market research and branding and splitting my target customers into age, gender, and race. I've taken classes in managerial accounting, financial accounting, finance, project management, psychology, entrepreneurial finance, where you are evaluating business models to see if the business is feasible or producing profits. To be honest, I didn't really know why I was going to run for council. It took me a little bit of thinking and ruminating, and yeah, I want to think about like great leadership, right? Like, what is that? What's great leadership to me? Well, great leadership is, it's transformational. It's not purely transactional. It's honest, like a lot of people are saying. It's transparent. It's open communication. It's honest. In the business sector, they taught us there's 3 modes of communication. There's face-to-face, which is the most rich. There's over the telephone, right? Which is a little less rich because you can't really read body language. And then there's like your traditional media, like newsletters, emails, etc., right? Like it's hard to get messages across when we just use those forms of communication. I don't believe the title of councillor puts me above or below any person. I think that we all are just as good as we are. I know the power dynamic makes it seem like it's very individualistic, and that's something that I hope I can work to change every day. What else have we got here? I don't believe my individual rights outweigh the collective rights of band members and Sagamay First Nation. As a leader, I've refused to settle for less than when dealing with all negotiations regarding the settlement of inherent rights, treaty rights, or the possibility of eradicating these rights. Many of us from Sagamay First Nation share the same bloodlines that tie us back to when the treaties were negotiated. These rights are not something to be wiped clean and paid off. Our ancestors went into negotiations with an open heart and open mind, as they were aware of the economic and technological shifts occurring across Canada. Our leaders never agreed to be colonialized and governed completely by the Canadian law. We were always considered to be a sovereign nation that has rights, traditional laws, spiritual laws that governed our nation and all our relations. It is my core belief that the collective rights of Sagamay should always come first before any other government, corporation, or individual that wishes to negotiate in rights, in resources, in lands, in business. Right now, the government is actively working and lobbying within the Canadian law framework to write and pass bills in the legislation that can negate that can negate and skip over these negotiations with First Nations, like Bill C-5, like the duty to consult. Sorry, hang on, my notes are a little bit messy here. They pass these legislation in the name of public interest, which is a euphemism that will be continuously used and propagated through the media, the government, and across Canada for the driving of economic development by corporations, government projects, business sectors, and the extraction of land and resources. We are a sovereign nation that needs to continue to protect, exercise, and fight for our individual right to express our inherent rights in the court of law, regardless of the legislation or Canadian law that they pass to dismiss these inherent rights. We are not a municipality of Saskatchewan, and we do not belong under the tax laws and colonial systems that govern the neighboring land around us. We have jurisdictional rights over our lands, our resources, and our people, and the need to exercise, express, and create our own legislative laws, and so the protection of our rights will always remain. I'm gonna go a little off beat here, but bear with me. I was watching an oldie TV show at my Auntie Vicky's house. I don't know if you guys heard of it, but it was called Little House on the Prairie. And in this show, there was a segment on the show where this Indigenous boy named Joseph was fighting with all these other kids, all these other white kids, by himself. Joseph was fighting because he was different than all the other kids. He looked different, he dressed different, he talked different, his beliefs were different. And the most important difference of all is it was because he was an orphan on the show, and he lived with a colonial settler family. Little Joseph gave those kids a pounding because he was fighting for his identity, something bigger than himself, something I will do. I tell you this story because I believe it's a metaphor for how we should approach any entity that wishes to negotiate with or infringe on our rights to expressing our collective inherent rights to self-determination, identity, and sovereignty, and economic independence. One more segment from Little House on the Prairie. Sorry, guys. The next segment on Little House on the Prairie struck me because it had to do with laws that govern the land and its people. Little Joseph broke a horse that was deemed wild and untamable. Now, according to Joseph, this is a direct quote from the show, it was Indian law. The horse was now his, and the horse now belonged to him. And he argued his point of view to the settler family more directly to the father, to the patriarchal figure that can be symbolized in our relation with governments in opposition to our cultural identity. The father was in strong opposition to Joseph and all that he represented, which was his worldview or paradigm that at one time governed his identity, his family, and his beliefs, and his nations, and his nation's law. The settler father expressed his disdain for Joseph's beliefs, identity, and most importantly, his law that governed his worldview. The father quoted, "It's white man's law, you stole the horse, and it belongs to the family you stole it from." What little Joseph didn't come to terms with yet is the world he was living in was changing, and according to white man's law, he may have stole the horse, but they stole the land, and most importantly, they did not recognize Indian law. This is also a metaphor for the conflicting colonial views, beliefs, systems, rights, and legislation that are in our opposition to our nations across Canada to fight for our worldviews, inherent rights, beliefs, and sovereign identity. I'll leave you with... Okay, thank you. Anyways, vote for whoever you think's the best candidate. Thanks, guys.